bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Yeah, man. Fade to Black, Monday, July 31st. Bespoke radio for the masses. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How are you doing? Monday. All right, pop into the chat room here. Good evening. See? Real time. That's how we do it. Very excited about the week that we have lined up for you guys. Because tonight, a very special broadcast. We have Brett Stuart and Khan here from the TROIKA Group, remote viewers. We're going to discuss their remote viewing of the Nazca mummies from Peru. You know, the ones that Gaia has got out there right now. It's going to be an extraordinary broadcast. We've got some really cool images from the TROIKA Group. We're going to get some of those up there for you guys. And then they've also got a special out there for you Fadernauts. I'll mention that here in just a little bit. Very cool. They've got an ebook of their presentation. Okay, and we've got a promo code. We'll get everything up in Twitter. But what Brett and Khan have put together, I am just telling you right now, has blown my mind. And I've got some other news, too, because I just got off the phone with Gaia about this, too, as well. So all of that coming up here shortly. Tomorrow night, Grant Cameron is going to be here. So we've got a huge show tonight with the TROIKA Group. And then tomorrow night, Grant Cameron's going to be here. We haven't had Grant on the show for a couple of years. And tomorrow night, we're going to discuss the government's influence on the UFO community and how certain individuals and groups in the UFO community are fed disinfo, right? And, you know, combined with info, and how this trend has been going on for a long time and is currently going on today. And Grant Cameron, Researcher of the Year, you know, just a really well-written guy. His website is presidentialufos.com, and he's got some new stuff out, too, as well. So that'll be tomorrow night. Very excited about that. And then Wednesday, Don Schmidt. Yeah, Don Schmidt's going to be here. He's got a new book out called Cover Up at Roswell with some new information in it, and also... which is also condensed with all of the cover-up side of things with Roswell, all put into one book. It is well written. I have it here. I am reading it. Well done, Don Schmidt, on Wednesday night. Thursday night is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. So there you go. Fantastic week. Dead ahead right here on Fade to Black. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough, at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. TROIKA is at TROIKA RV. And I was just over on their Twitter account right before the show. Looks like they just set that up. Okay, they've got all the social media going. So go and follow Troika RV. I just popped it out there. It's TROIKA at Troika RV. Go and follow them. And like I just posted in the tweet, I just said, hey, look, after tonight's show, you're going to want to follow everything these guys do. Okay, so there you go. Troika remote viewing tonight on Fade to Black. Follow us and like us on Facebook. And don't forget to sub to our YouTube account. Everything is right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Oh, man, I love my River Moon coffee. Any questions or comments during the show tonight? Hashtag F2BQ. If you want to hang out in the sandbox, hashtag F2B. The chat rooms are already flying. I'm watching Spreaker and KGRA. You guys are out of control. You guys. Oh, man, what a family we have built here. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Subscribe to our podcast. There are a few different ways to support the show, okay? First off, the podcast, of course, right there, $2 a month. Go subscribe to the podcast. Right there is $2 a month. Just consider it a donation. We have the best software out there, the best apps for Apple and Android, which is all cool if that's what you would like to do. $2 a month, updated every single day, over 695 archive shows. By the way, this Thursday will be our 700th show, but who's counting? 700 this Thursday on a Fader night, no less. Coinky-dink? I think not. Anyway, so that'll be this Thursday night. And then you can also become an official Fader Nod. Go to our membership area, which is right there on the website, and you can do whatever you'd like. You can become a Fader Nod for free. You can go all the way through to the Game Changer. You've got the Bunker Cam right there. Hello, everybody in Bunker Cam land. Got the Bunker Cam, and you can go all the way to T-shirts and autographed hats and all that stuff. Commercial-free downloadable archives. Downloadable. Okay? All right. And then you can also visit all of our sponsors like Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, New Pharma, Ancient Life Oil, and Studio Dome speakers. Okay? All the promo codes that you need are right there. The new promo code for Life Change Tea is FADER, F-A-D-E-R. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday today to Zach Brown. Zach Brown Band. Zach Brown. Man, I forget that big hit that they had, but I got to tell you, it just doesn't come to me right now, but that thing is infectious. It's been like 5 years, but man. So anyway, happy birthday today to Zach Brown. Great band. OTD on this day in history. 1975. Jimmy Hoffa, one of the most influential American labor leaders of the 20th century, disappears in Detroit, Michigan. Never to be heard from again. Right? Talk about unsolved mystery. What happened to Jimmy Hoffa? You would think that something, right? Somewhere, somebody would have stepped up and said, hey, you know what? I did it. Deathbed confession. I did it. This is where he is. This is what we did with him. The full story. But no, 1975. 42 years. Unbelievable. On this day in history. Fader fact. Here's another good one. You ready? All the Fader facts are good, by the way. There's Zach Brown. Check out my man, Zach Brown. Dude can sing. Fader fact. Russian President Boris Yeltsin's first question when he met President Clinton in 1995 was, and are you ready? Do you think OJ did it? There you go. International diplomacy right there. Do you think OJ did it? First question out of Boris Yeltsin's mouth. There you go. All right, tonight, very special guests, Brett Stuart and Khan are here from the TROIKA Group. We are going to discuss their remote viewing of the Nazca mummies from Peru. What they have put together. This is going to be an extraordinary show tonight. I am, when done right, remote viewing is one of the most profound things on this planet. Okay? And tonight, we're going to take things to a whole nother level. I remember going back when the whole Malibu underwater base thing happened. And Regan, what was his name? Corey Regan, I think, did his remote viewing of that right after it happened. Now, to see it, I'm serious, the hair on my neck just stood up. And he didn't know anything about anything. And when I was watching him draw it, right? I'm watching him draw it. And then when he opened up the envelope, and the envelope was one of the pictures that we had published on the net. And in fact, the picture even said jimmychurchradio.com down at the bottom of it. And I freaked. Remote viewing, like I said, done right is incredible. And the TROIKA Group are on to something. Both Brett and Con are very, very talented, very good artists too, as well. We're going to post some of their pictures tonight. And I was speaking to them before the show. It's like, dude, who's the artist here? You know, and they said both of us. Very, very incredible artwork. So we're going to post that up too as well. So get ready. But tonight's going to be one of those shows. Tomorrow night, Grant Cameron's going to be here. We're going to talk about the government influence on the UFO community, feeding them disinformation. Wednesday night, Don Schmidt and his new book, Cover Up at Roswell. Then, of course, Thursday night, our 700th show. 700. Hi, Jimmy. What was the theme in the music? Oh, you mean from Coast to Coast? The theme was things, life, are never what they seem. That was the theme. And if you put the thread together, go look now, go to the Coast to Coast website, go to that show, and it will list all of the bumper music. Okay? And just read through it and think about that. Think about how I strung it together. And, man, it took a lot of work. I had a lot of help from the Fadernauts out there and the Coast Insiders. Yeah, that was the theme. And to put that one together, that thing took me like 4 hours for 14 songs. But I thought it was really good. Did you guys see the video that we have up? Let's see who can do this first. I put up a video on my Facebook page. And it's of this guitar player, young kid. His name is James Bell. And he's got this video up on YouTube. It's called James Bell Lights Out, you know, the band UFO Lights Out, busking, right? B-U-S-K-I, you know, he's out busking on the street. James Bell Lights Out UFO busking. That video, and let me see here. Hold on, I've got things muted. Okay, I can actually do it like this. I'll just post it up for you guys. It's one of the coolest videos ever. This kid can really, really play. And so I put it up, and I watched it a few times. I've gone back, and I went to his website, and I looked at a bunch of stuff. And his video, he's got a video. I think he's like 12 years old, doing Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. It looks like a talent contest. And he is so good. He's such an incredible guitar player, but he's obviously still young. Some of these videos that he's posting, 2013, 2012, and he's 12 years old, 13 years old. So think about that. So today he's got to be 18. And just go and watch this video. This kid is absolutely incredible. For you guitar players out there, go back and think about what you were playing like when you were 12, 13, 14 years old. Look at the video. He's 13 years old playing Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs, right? And I remember when I was 13, 14 trying to learn Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs, okay? No, this kid's in a whole nother world. But he's very, very talented. He's a great singer, too. So go and check that out. But that inspired, going back to the bumper music, I've got some stuff to say tonight. I want to get to that. But the bumper music, so somebody had posted, hey, man, play Lights Out by UFO. I was like, that might be a little bit too heavy for Coast to Coast, but, man, it's such a great song. And, So I clicked on the video and I got all sucked into UFO, and I love that band. Anyway, right below that was this kid, James Bell. I was like, James Bell busking. All right. That's how I stumbled onto it. And isn't it cool when you're surfing like that and you're goofing around? That's how I found James Bell. I found James Bell indirectly putting together the bumper music for Friday night. And I got sucked in. I feel like contacting him and getting him on Fade to Black. I just want to talk. I want to figure out where this kid's head is at. He is really, really talented. So please go and take the time. Because you guitar players out there, you're going to go watch this guy busking. First off, in this video of him busking Lights Out, he does not flub a note. He does not, not one bend, not one thing, not one chord, not one, nope. Not one mistake. Standing on the street. So anyways, okay, all right, cool. But it's got the feel. It's got the right groove. It's got the right thing. It is UFO. And he's on a street corner, right? Why isn't this guy like Mark Trina just said, one day I'll hear something I suggested for the bumper music. Well, just do a good suggestion, Mark. That's all you got to do. Just make sure it's good. That's all. The good stuff gets through. Always remember that. It's always the good stuff. So anyway, as there's a lot of guitar players that listen to this show, and I go back and I watch that, and that's what I think. How bad did I really suck? Right? This kid is that good. He's that good. He's incredible. Okay, what I wanted to talk about tonight was I've been trading back and forth. For some reason, there are a lot of Darwin disciples out there. I've been getting a lot of email, and I've been getting this stuff and stuff forwarded to me, and I'm going back and forth and about evolution and Darwin. There are camps out there. I'm getting email from people that the earth is 6,000 years old, and that God put everything here, put dinosaur bones here to test our faith, right? I was like, what? Okay, so I'm getting that. I'm getting email out there that Homo sapien did not just appear here, that the missing link is there, and that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm getting stuff like that. And that Darwin was correct. And, everybody just needs to stop with that. When it comes to a few different subjects out there, no matter what I say, and I've talked about this last week with climate change, no matter what I say or what anybody says, no matter what your position is, you are going to find a huge group of people out there that are against you. And it doesn't matter what your position is. It just doesn't matter. And it's the same thing with evolution. My problem that I have, well, there's like 50 things that stop me from accepting anybody's position. And the first one is, if you accept Darwin, which you can't because he was wrong, but if you accept Darwin, then there must be hundreds, if not thousands, of versions of us out there that show transitions at the micro and macro level. And they're not there. All right? They simply are not there. And the other problem that I have, they're not there. So don't tell me they are, because they are not. We have no connection to Lucy. 4 million year old Lucy. We have no connection. So forget about that. All right? But the other issue is when you look at Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal, one 150,000 years ago and 30,000 years ago, and there's evidence that even some of that, may have cross-pollinated in a weird way. It's a possibility. But also, they were here. They were walking alongside Homo sapien sapien. So there is no, there isn't any evolutionary steps off of that. It doesn't exist. We don't relate to it. So don't tell me that they do. Do not. And the fact that we, us, Homo sapiens sapien, 150,000 years, 200,000 years, okay, at the extreme. There's evidence now recently that has just surfaced here in San Diego that says, okay, it could reach back 275,000 years. Okay, all right. That is a mere blip on the radar of the million or 2 millions of years that it would take to evolve. The us just appeared one day. That's it. How it happened, I don't know. But don't tell me that there was an evolution process that happened with us before that, because it doesn't exist. It's not in the fossil record. It's not out there. Plain and simple. Okay? Now, I would love, and this is my statement, I would love to be the guy that says, here's the missing link. Here it is. So if you've got evidence, send it to me. You will be the most famous person on planet Earth. You think about that. And then we can start to answer some of these questions. But until then, the question that I have is, how did we just appear? It could be something as simple as, what Hawkins says, which is, lightning struck some stuff on a crystal or whatever, and it happened. It's possible. Some freak accident happened and DNA just went, and we just, the next day, right, children were born with our foreheads and our chin and no hair on the back and walking upright and a big brain, and we were talking and just it could be. I don't know. Could be alien intervention. Could have been the Anunnaki. Could be. I don't know. What I do know is this, and I will stand firm. We just appeared. We just appeared. We just showed up. How? I don't know. I'm looking for those same answers. And anybody out there that wants to throw a theory on the table, give me a call. Shoot me an email. You got some definitive proof on something? Great. Darwin is out of the mix. Out of the mix. If you look at the 4, 5, 6 different extinction events that took place on this planet, this is what is amazing about that. It just blows my mind that life nearly ended each time for everything. 90% of everything on the planet was wiped out. And then, like a miracle, wiped out. And then, like a miracle, everything restarted again. And it happened 4, 5, or 6 times. Everything happened on its own. I cannot explain that. The other part that I have a big issue with is, if dinosaurs were wiped out, which they were, I shouldn't say if. When dinosaurs were wiped out, how come when everything else kick-started again, that dinosaurs didn't kick-start again? I don't get that. Right? Where's the T-Rex or the Brontosaurus, the Stegosaurus? Where are they? Why didn't they restart? And don't say, well, we got crocodiles. Okay, all right. We got snakes. Okay, all right. I get all that. But why didn't all of that kickstart again? Why did some things not? And then the tens of thousands of species that restarted and filled up all of ecology, like instantaneously. It's like we can't stop the life here. It just keeps restarting. Who is doing it? Right? Now, this is not 6,000 years and God and religion. It's not about that. I'm covering hundreds of millions of years over and over again. And it blows my mind. I don't know what the magic is. And I don't know if somebody is coming by this planet like Johnny Appleseed and restarting stuff each time. I don't know. You know, is somebody coming by the planet literally going, okay, now the temperature is here. We got this much water. We got so much carbon dioxide. We got so much oxygen. We got a good blend. So let's do this. Right? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. You know, after the dinosaurs went extinct, they came back and said, you know what? Dinosaurs just can't survive this time around. So that we don't need to do that. But let's do this. I don't know. But it seems to happen like on autopilot. When you see a desert, right? A desert, there's nothing on it. You just see dirt and sand, and the rains come in, and you see it all the time. And then a week later, flowers, right? Fields. It happens instantaneously. This is a magical place, and I don't know what is causing it. But let's be firm here on my position. Darwin out. Darwin's out. The millions of years that it would take for the evolution of us to occur has not. And we have some pretty good fossils out there. We don't have millions. We have a few dozen. But what we don't have is the missing link. And when somebody says that the missing link is there, well, then I don't know what textbook, animal seeds, right? I totally agree with that, IPD. Animal seeds, Johnny Appleseed. I don't know, but that's my position. And don't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm telling you that I don't have the answers, but I do know that we just appeared. And tonight, it's the TROIKA Group. Now, I'm going to say this. I have looked all over their research. It's absolutely astounding. So tonight, that's what we're going to do. We're going to discuss the Nazca mummies out of Peru. What has Gaia got going on here? They're on to something. But let me tell you something. So is the TROIKA Group. And Brett and Con are right here. They're in the batter's box. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back after this short break on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Again, GetTheT.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Combat, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Tonight, the TROIKA Group. Remote viewing, the Nazca mummies. Our guest tonight, Brett Stuart, is the founder of the TROIKA Group and works full-time as a professional remote viewer, which includes client-based RV problem solving and personalized RV instruction. 2012, he received extensive training from a member of the now declassified U.S. military Stargate remote viewing program and began teaching the skill the following year. After writing extensively on the subject, Brett has worked with hundreds of students in both large workshops and one-on-one settings. He has an eclectic educational background that began with political science and university-level parliamentary speech and debate, but he later shifted to the art when he specialized in graphic design and advanced digital animation. He continues to apply these skill sets with the TROIKA Group, pursuing his passion to bring an expanded awareness and increased understanding about this incredible human ability through the production of socially significant remote viewing content, podcasts, and videos. Khan is the founder of the TROIKA Group together with Brett. At a young age, Khan was schooled in Sufi mysticism, which allowed him to establish his intuition and creativity. He developed an inclination and love for the inner world of his being and an infinite curiosity to explore the imaginary worlds that continuously unfolded before him as a child. Combined with his educational background in philosophy and design thinking, Khan pursued a career path in technology and organizational behavior. He made a significant difference to the business world by applying his intuition to product design, business strategy, and leadership communication. Khan launched the TROIKA Group with Brett and is now applying his expertise in bringing cutting-edge remote viewing research to the world. Khan continues to have deep interest in the decentralization of power, money, and politics and believes that the seismic changes are on the horizon for mankind. Tonight, we are going to discuss their remote viewing of the Nazca mummies that were recently discovered in Peru and presented by Gaia. The website is TROIKARV.com. I would like to welcome to Fade to Black for the first time, Brett Stuart and Khan. Hey, guys, how are you?
Hey, Jimmy, how are you doing?
And that
Hi,
was
Jimmy.
Okay, that's Brett, and the other is Khan. Everybody, you'll figure things out as we move on tonight. Welcome to the show, and I went through all of your stuff. Absolutely incredible. And so, before we get started, you get the first-time guest disclaimer. So let's do that now, which is it's just you and I sitting on my couch talking as friends. Where the conversation starts, it ends where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who was that?
That was me, Khan.
That was Khan. Okay, Khan with an mm-hmm. Brett, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Yeah, thank you so much, Jimmy, for letting us come on the show to discuss our results with your audience and talk a little bit about remote viewing.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Yeah, let's sit down on the couch.
Yeah, let's do that. And I apologize for flubbing your bio. I had
no worries at all.
It was a book, and
it was a mouthful.
Yes, it was. So, but I'll edit the bad stuff out. So I look like a pro.
You got my back.
Yes,
Jimmy.
I do. Okay, remote viewing. I am so amazed with it, but I usually to put my own disclaimer in that when done properly. Okay, when done properly, it is one of the most mind-blowing things out there. It really, really is. It's not an imaginary science. There is something going on here with remote viewing, and I'm so impressed with it when done correctly. You guys are doing it correctly. There's something going on with the way that you guys approach it and some of the things that you are revealing with this. Now, I will say this for the audience. I'm going to surprise both Brett and Con with what I'm about to say here. I called Gaia Television right before the broadcast tonight, and I spoke with them. And this is the official statement coming from Gaia about Troika. These guys are amazing. And 4 weeks ago, Troika approached Gaia with some information. The information that they exposed to Gaia had not been released publicly yet. And as a matter of fact, they were still going through some of the research. And you guys stopped Gaia in their tracks. So they are very, very, very impressed and amazed, just like I am. We're going to discuss what that information was here tonight on the show. It is mind-blowing. But when you get a statement like that coming from Gaia, who I respect so many people over there, when it comes from them like that, I wanted to make sure that what I was hearing from your research and from what I know from Gaia directly, that because I was tripping out. I was like, wait a minute here. The timing of this seems a little bit strange. You guys were ahead of the curve. I call Gaia. I confirm this. And I am truly, truly impressed. Okay, so let's just say that moving forward, how you and Gaia move forward, you guys need to start sharing your information. But you guys are definitely on to something here. Now, when we talk remote viewing, so I wanted the audience to understand exactly the presentation of the information tonight. Actually was predating Gaia's release. So as we talk about this, I want everybody to understand that this is coming from an official source here. This isn't made up stuff. Pretty impressed. Now, when we discuss remote viewing, I'm going to hand this to Con first. Con, what is your definition of remote viewing?
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. And I think the best definition that can describe it in today's day and age is that remote viewing is a consciousness hacking tool. And by that, I mean it allows you to access parts of your consciousness that normally you would not have access to. The structure, the way that we do it, allows us to synergistically, especially with Brett and I, the way we cross-check each other, allows us to remove the mental noise from remote viewing, because a lot of natural psychics have this ability. However, their imagination tends to overlay and cloud the data. What Brett and I do is we work together in sync and we cross-check each other, and it's a powerful recipe.
Brett, what is your definition of remote viewing?
Sure. Remote viewing is something that everybody can do. It's a natural, inherent human ability. And what that ability is able to access information at a distance that would be blocked either by time or space. And so something, whether it's the meal that you had yesterday for lunch, Jimmy, or say something on the far side of the moon, that all objects in time and space have patterns of information that have been recorded somewhere. And the mind has this uncanny ability to unconsciously go and access that database, bring it back up to the conscious mind. And then that in the remote viewing session, what occurs is you get a stream of conscious of descriptors and diagrammatic drawings. And then typically it takes about 45 minutes to go through a remote viewing session, at least one of the techniques. That's the way it works. It's the one that we use. But it's essentially, we do a number of these different types of sessions that creates and starts to paint a narrative about a specific topic. It can be more open. We can leave it open. Say we take just the Nazca mummy tonight. We left it at the beginning, as we get into the results, we left it very open because we wanted to know, what was this? Is this a hoax, or is this something that was real? And we let our unconscious figure that out. But then what we do is we put more time and effort into it to really flesh out the narrative and figure out really what went on behind it. What is the purpose of this thing over here? What is going on in this part that we saw? And fleshing out details until finally, at the end, we have a detailed report, a detailed narrative where we can speak it to somebody and tell them precisely what happened. And so it's really the ability to unconsciously access information that would otherwise be blocked and bringing that back through this structured, rigorous approach.
Okay. Brett, if that is the case, which I believe that it is, then we're only dealing with the past. Can you remote view the future?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. It's actually a controversial question, even within a number of remote viewing communities. There's some people believe it's possible. Even there's a difference of opinion between the original researchers at the Stanford Research Institute who developed this tool.
Right.
And I personally believe it is possible some of the time. I don't think it's a foolproof thing. And the reason why I personally believe that is because I've had actual experience of this working and predicting things to come to pass. Another one, I'll give just a really brief example. Last year, 2016 in February, I ran a group project. And this is the group dynamic again, which is so important. It's why I work with Khan. It's why TROIKA Group, I feel, is going to really lend itself to the remote. I hope to bring something to the remote viewing and show how this is such a good skill. But last year in 2016, we did a future prediction on the president back when Trump was a 0% chance to win. And everyone thought we were crazy. But our remote viewing data was very, very clear. And there's another remote viewer as well that had a very similar, separately, he came to the same kind of remote viewing conclusions that it's pretty much set in stone as far as remote viewing. It's very clear that Trump is going to be president. And everyone thought, I almost didn't believe it because I followed the news. And I was like, that's right.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, Khan, can you remote view the future?
Yeah, I think the way Brett and I work allows us to determine whether the future is set in stone or not. There are certain events that if both Brett and I can download into our consciousness and then there is an overlap, now that raises a lot of interesting questions because that means that event has already happened in a way, and it's whether we want to participate in that event or not. However, there is a lot of free will involved, and it's from that place, going back to the excellent point you made, Jimmy, is that remote viewing must be done properly. And by properly, it means applying the right levels of discernment, the right levels of wisdom to the work. Now, there are certain things that you should not remote view because they might have already happened in the future, but it's not in your best interest to know these things. And that's when Brett and I sort of look at certain things that are of interest, but we're always checking to make sure that we're aligned to sort of the higher purpose that we're trying to serve, which is bringing the skill in a discerning way to the people who are interested in it.
Right.
But at the same time, knowing that if an event has happened in the future and both Brett and I are downloading it at the same time into our consciousness and there is so much overlap, it's almost as if we can't do anything about it.
And now what about remote viewing the lottery? Right. I know you guys get that all the time, I'm sure. But, when it comes to all of this kind of this type of paranormal or ESP or, when it always comes up. Well, how come nobody's done the lottery?
Yeah.
Right.
I'll give you an example. There was one really professional former remote viewer who used to go to Vegas and do quite a bit of gambling. And initially he was quite successful. And later on, when I met him, all of his results started to fade away. And what happened was that his life was in trouble. His Family life was in tatters as well, and he was really struggling financially. So now what starts off as something interesting that maybe you can get lucky the first few times because of a novelty factor,
right?
Something else comes in to prevent you. And we have a hypothesis there, but we don't want to, we don't have concrete data on what exactly that is.
Oh, I've got concrete data on it. There's no positive without a negative. That's it. That's the way you can go and have fun. You're just going to pay the price later, right? If you're going to cheat the system, well, the system will come back and cheat you right back. I'm being, I don't want to break it down to something so simple as that, but it's just the way life works, man. There's no positive without a negative. You're going to have ups and downs, and if you're going to take advantage of a talent like that, well, nature will make sure that that things balance out in the end.
Look at what you're using. If, say, this is a big critique I've heard from a lot of skeptics that come to me about remote viewing, saying, well, if remote viewing was a real skill, why aren't there millionaire remote viewers out there all the time doing all these fantastical things that you say you can get information at a distance and what have you? And the response I typically give to that is, look at the mechanism or the tool you're using to access that information. You're using your unconscious mind. Some might say your higher mind. And if you suddenly were able to use this skill to say, now I have $10 million I just got because my unconscious gave me the precise numbers. There's a lot of other things maybe we could talk about, but that would completely change the course of that person's life. And it would change their trajectory. It would change what they would do with the rest of their life. You maybe bring it to a different level of the discussion. You could say, well, is everyone here for a purpose? And if they are, would that then override or change why they're here? And would it upset something that was maybe predetermined in advance? I mean, I don't have all the answers to those questions, but I think they're worth asking. But I think it doesn't surprise me that if you're trying to use an aspect of yourself that is a bit larger and can tap into something a little bit bigger than you directly,
right?
If you're trying to kind of appease the ego with that thing, it's not going to necessarily play along.
Yeah. Brett, we get a little closer to your microphone.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, now we got you. Yeah, you faded just a little bit there. Yeah, that's the only way you can really look at it. Now, how do you two, since you're both doing remote viewing on the same target, what do you guys do with the disagreement? Are the only results that you discuss are the ones that are cross-referenced? If one of you sees something that the other doesn't, then is that data ignored?
It's a fantastic question, Jimmy. I think, so let's break it down, right? So the first layer is whatever overlaps. If there is an overlap and it's between two professional remote viewers who have been doing this skill for more than 8 or 9 years and have also confronted their ego at the same time,
right?
That data is 100% sound and solid. Now, interesting things happen when one remote viewer picks up something that another remote viewer doesn't. And this is where we really have to use sort of statistical techniques to see whether that data showed up in any other part of the session. A lot of the time, sometimes because Brett is a lot more structured and focused, he might pick up a number of things related to the site and the actual place. I have a little bit of an esoteric background, so I might pick up something else. Now, if there's no overlap, that doesn't necessarily mean that that thing wasn't there, but we just don't have the confidence to go to the public and say that that's what's there. What we would then do is, for example, if something is in Brett's session that's not in mine, we would say, okay, let's look at Brett's session and see what is the source of that data. If the source of that data is his imagination, and we remote view that, we then discover that maybe Brett was off target. Rarely happens because he's a professional. And if the source of the data of mine was off target, then it shows clearly that I went into an imaginary sort of overlay. But what we present to the public, and that's why it gives us a lot of confidence in bringing this to the market, is that whenever there is an overlap, and the moment we go into the overlaps, it's undeniable.
Now, you both are very, very talented, which means also, is ego, okay? And you guys have been able to deal with the ego side of being very, very talented. But now you have to find a way to work together. right? All of these things come into play. How did you guys find each other?
Yeah, I think synchronicity.
Right.
And you're absolutely right, because if you're talented, if you want to succeed in the world, you must draw from both your ego and from your higher mind, from your intuition, from the best part of you. And it's that constant checking of your ego that both Brett and I do. And sometimes it's not very pleasant because we're pretty upfront and brutally honest with each other.
Right.
And that allows us to listen at a level that allows us to function as a team. And a lot of the times that takes time and effort, but it's worth it, because what we can do together when we present the information, it's 100%. And then we celebrate together as well.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna find out where the ego. I'm gonna do an ego check on you guys right now. Brett, who's the better remote viewer, you or Khan?
Oh, what a loaded question. It's not a cop-out when I say the way that I get my certainty, not that I can't, we're both fantastic remote viewers. Khan has done work that has surprised me. I feel very confident in my own ability and my own skill level just based off the past projects I've worked at. But what gives me the confidence to be able to go to an organization like Gaia, who I really respect for what they're doing and really am excited to kind of get into the results. But what gives me the confidence to, out of the blue, I have this narrative, this story that's really wild, but there's a lot of really specific data that corroborated. That gave me the confidence to say, let's put this out there, let's put our name on it, let's go to them, because there's no way independently, because this is the key. It's, yes, we're both coming to this data, but it's done independently. We don't get together ahead of time and say, okay, we're going to look at this. Oh, how interesting is this topic? And like really dissect it before we do that. That would be really difficult for us to basically shut out all that mental noise.
Right.
What we do is we independently tackle the target by ourselves, do a deep dive of remote viewing sessions on this. And once we've completely done all of the work, we have stacks of pages of remote viewing sessions, hours worth of work. We then come together and we collate and see if there's corroborating data. When that data corroborates, we know where we've struck gold. And it happens, I've been working with Khan for a while now. It has happened time and time and time again. And we use this in our personal lives. We use this for esoteric and interesting. I mean, I love this kind of stuff. I love your show, Jimmy, as far as what you do, the type of topics. I mean, this is why I'm doing remote viewing, is I want to look at this type of stuff. So, but when those things line up, I know that they're right, because what are the odds that we're coming to these very detailed conclusions that specifically overlap independently out of random chance?
Yeah.
So
some of the overlapping that you guys with the Nazca mummy, it's man, I keep saying the word trippy. I sound like I'm on drugs, but I also feel like I'm on drugs when I see when it plays out like it does. How do you suppress your own thoughts during a session? How do you run clean? I'll give that to Khan first.
No, okay. So I mean, Jimmy, let's try a thought experiment, right? Like, tell me the next thought that pops into your mind.
Egypt. It just popped in my head. I don't know why, but it did.
So perfect. So Egypt as a thought has a certain signature. It has a certain heaviness. It has a certain flavor. All thoughts have a type of density to them. Now, there's certain thoughts that are a bit heavier. They kind of stick with you for a long time. And other thoughts that are sort of light and fleeting. Now, remote viewing, the more that Brett and I practice and cross-check each other, what we're doing is we're really fine-tuning our antenna to discern what thought is entering our stream of consciousness from a moment-to-moment standpoint. And the moment we're able to do that effectively, we can distinguish between a thought that says Egypt versus another thought that says, I need a milkshake right now.
Right.
And that's the difference.
Right. That's exactly that is exactly the answer to the question. How about you, Brett? Same way?
Similar. The way I would approach it is, for me, it comes down to the rigor. It comes down to the practice on how I delineate between mental noise and what actual data is.
Right.
And this comes down to when I work with students, and I've done a lot of that, but just even in my own work, is feedback is so critical, is the immediate feedback response after you complete a session. is that when you do the work, and we do this when we work with beginners and even intermediate students, that you run a session what's referred to as blind. And this is kind of a core principle to remote viewing. You don't, especially when you're learning it, you don't know what the target is. And so I'll take a photo, I'll put it in an envelope, I'll give you the numbers that are associated with it,
right,
without going into the complex details of it, and then go. And now if the picture in the envelope is the Eiffel Tower and you drew an ocean with a boat on it, you missed.
Right.
It's wrong.
Right.
And there's a whole training process that's going on that you're not seeing on the other side. The unconscious also has to learn how to do this. It has to learn with your lexicon and your vocabulary through spontaneity and stream of thought to kind of percolate up all the information when you're sitting down and focusing your attention. So the way that I know what good data is versus bad data, or the thoughts that apply to the target or the thoughts that do not, is that I've had so much feedback. I know what it feels like in the session when I have a strong connection to the pattern, so to speak. When it's something that's not, I'm very quick to ascertain, oh, my imagination, the thing is yellow and black and buzzing, it must be a bee. Well, what I did there is I took previous descriptors that were coming in through my stream of consciousness, and my imagination put them together and formed the image of a bee. And this just comes through practice. And as soon as you do this, you get a lot better and you can start to know those things.
And one of the things that comes up with remote viewing a lot, which I really want this corrected right now, or I want, is this. People think that you are given the suggestion up front, and then you go and remote view. In other words, you just said Eiffel Tower, right? And you want to remote view if there is, a redheaded lady on the top of the Eiffel Tower right now looking out of a telescope, or whatever it is, right? And that you are given, Eiffel Tower out of the gate. You are not. You are given a sequence of numbers, and then you go and hit the target, right? I mean, if remote viewing wouldn't even work or wouldn't be legitimate if you were given the target or target name in advance.
Yeah, I think the skeptical argument has always been that there is priming going on, there is some sort of trickery here.
Right.
And really what's changing and why we set up Troika is because we are forecasting two things. We're forecasting a brainwave revolution. That means there are these neurotech devices that are being commoditized, and they're going to be pretty cheap in about a year or two. And these are like your Fitbits, but for the brain. And you would be able to ascertain what level of brainwave or brain state you're going to be in real time. Now, the application of these tools, this technology could be on several layers. You could have it for meditators. You could have it for, let's say, Uber might use it to put it on their drivers if they want to check if they're sleeping or feeling sleepy so that they get triggered and then they don't fall asleep. But from a remote viewing standpoint, that interests us quite a bit because you can then use that to say there's something else going on from an altered state of consciousness standpoint, and it's corroborating with the data. So when I'm doing remote viewing, my brainwaves suddenly start going into theta, and I can see that on a graph. And we think this revolution is coming in about a year or two. And the moment it hits that, we think it's going to hit critical mass. People are going to start exploring and experimenting with their consciousness.
I got to jump in right there. Let's take a break. Perfect spot to do that. Thank you, Khan. You should get into radio. That was the perfect break. Our guests tonight, Brett and Khan from TROIKA Group, remote viewing the Nazca mummies. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tappy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Got a very special broadcast tonight. The TROIKA Group, remote viewing, is with us. We're going to discuss their research and data into the Nazca mummies. And they have a very cool promotion that they're doing tonight for the Fadernauts. And we're going to put the links up for this right now. You know what? I'm going to go with Khan. Khan, what is the special that you've got up right now for the Fadernauts tonight?
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. What we have is actually an ebook with all of the remote viewing data that we've put together, and we're presenting it in a way for the first time. Some of this stuff hasn't been seen. So essentially it allows your Fadernauts or your audience to basically sit on our shoulder as we're doing the remote viewing work, and we're actually uploading some of the session scans that show you how that process is done. Plus, we also show you how the mind actually gets all of these data bits and how we analyze some of this work. And then, of course, there's some wonderful artistic sketches done by Brett that we have for Maria's entire story. And it's available at troikarv.com. And you can add a code called JimmyChurchRV and get $5 off.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so we'll get that. Thank you for that. The artwork, we'll get everything up on Twitter, and I'll get it retweeted right now, everybody. So it's JimmyChurchRV is the promo code. Okay, so and what's the normal cost on this?
Yeah, normally I think these sort of books go for about $40-50, but what we're doing is we want to give away this information at the lowest cost point possible. And we think the best way of doing that is by reducing the price, but also sharing Maria's story as much as we can.
Okay. What's the cost?
Oh, what's the cost of the book? The book is $15, but if you put $5 in, If you put that discount code on, you get it at $9.99.
$9.99. Thank you for that. That is totally cool. And I'll say this: just the artwork alone, the artwork is incredible. Now, so it's Brett doing the artwork.
Yeah, he's the artist.
Brett, you've got extreme talent, my friend. I mean, the artwork is spellbinding. We've got some images that we're going to post up here on Twitter as we move along. So I guess it's Brett that's doing the artwork. I didn't know if it was the both of you or what the deal was there, but the artwork is absolutely incredible. So we'll get that up as we move along. What I wanted to touch upon now, before we get to your data and your results, is the community out there, or the skeptic community, I should say, or the debunking community. I have really held back from responding to. I don't respond to anybody anyway, but the mummies are in Peru. So unless you are an anthropologist or an archaeologist or some kind of forensic pathologist, and you are down in Peru getting your own samples and looking at the mummy firsthand, all you are doing is commenting on nothing. Nothing. That's my take on this. What do you think? When you look at some of what's your response to that? To the skeptics out there that are saying one way or the other, and what I mean by that, it could be somebody saying that it is real, right? Unless you're unless you are down there, you don't know that it's real. And if you're suggesting that it's fake, you don't know that it's fake. You can't comment on anything. The data rests in Gaia's hands, the real data, right? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an uproar, actually, of skeptical criticism that really does not find any base in reality. We are living, I suppose, in the age of fake news. And there's actually a substantial amount of fake news about the Nazca mummy. A bunch of articles that have misleading or completely wrong information is all around Facebook. After we put the remote viewing narrative in the package we sent out a couple weeks ago together, we did kind of a deep dive on, okay, what is everyone else saying about this? Now let's see what everyone else thinks this is. And most of what we find is personal attacks on some of the journalists that originally were contacted, personal attacks on Gaia. There's a lot of but all really baseless, just saying, well, we don't agree with what they've done in the past, and anything that is at all alien in the past has been fake. Therefore, they're frauds and they're fakes. And to be honest, that kind of reasoning is kind of lazy. It's not looking at the data. It's not looking at the CT scans. It's not looking at the pathology or looking at what the radiologists are saying. And the only data that I really came across, and I've scoured a whole bunch of all the mainstream media outlets, from the New York Times to RT to there's a number of them, Daily Mail. All they really do is they source these same articles that are making personal attacks on these journalists that are just trying to get the story out there.
Yeah, you can say
one that I found.
You can say Snopes.
I can say Snopes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Snopes is the most quoted one for sure.
Right.
They just say it's not. It's just a bunch of personal attacks. They levy a whole bunch of personal attacks.
Yeah, it's character assassination.
Now, I do think you should be skeptical of anything you come across. I mean, if I didn't have this ability to use remote viewing with Khan to go and kind of sort out with a different avenue what we think the truth is through this higher mind ability, I would be incredibly skeptical of anything I look at, especially from those. There are some who are involved that have been duped in the past. They've made mistakes, and it's unfortunate, but they're still really passionate about what they're doing. Gaia really is passionate about they're sticking to the facts, and they're not really saying any one way. They just want to get it out there. But I think there's only one argument that I've seen that held any water that I looked at that cast a shadow of doubt. But when I did research into it, it still fell apart. And this was the argument. It was a PhD out of Peru, an anthropologist, where he made a claim, and this is only in Spanish. Actually, you can't find this in English, so I had to translate the document. But he made a presentation put together that he thought that Maria's hands and feet were a result of mutilation, where they would cut off her, because she has 3 fingers. They cut off her thumb and they would cut off her pinky, and then basically they'd recoat the whole body so that you couldn't see what they did. The only problem with that is that it doesn't take into account two specific facts. Number one is that the bones in Maria's hand are substantially more robust than any human hand that we know of in that time period or in the modern era. They're much thicker around than human bones in the fingers and in the feet. The other problem with that argument, why it kind of doesn't hold any weight, is the length of from the base of the palm to the tip of the fingers. The average human being has about a 17 centimeter span between those 2 points.
Right.
The 99th percentile, like the largest hand of the largest human ever really in recorded history, is about 20 centimeters. Maria's hand is close to 24. So you can't tell me that some hoaxer just cut off some fingers and now we don't have anything to look at anymore. There's still really mysterious stuff that's going on with this that is unexplained. Even if you don't take the remote viewing data, there's a lot of people who don't believe in that. I respect your opinion on that. But even if you look at the data, it's still not disproved. It's not debunked. Even though people go around and say it is, they really just haven't taken the time to look at the facts. They haven't taken the time to really look that a lot of this is argument from incredulity. Like it's not possible, so therefore I won't look at your data.
Right.
And I really, I'm really excited to kind of see where the rest of the web series goes from Gaia, and really excited to see where the DNA goes, because I think this is a big deal. This is going to be on the page of history, and it's kind of cool to watch it unfold.
Yeah, you bring up the most obvious points, and it doesn't. You need to the part about Jaime Maussan being involved with this, right, and his background. My point, obviously, it's obvious that he's involved. His name is right there, and everybody's going to jump back and go, okay, here we go again. Well, you know what? Gaia is aware of that, too. What, Gaia is not aware of this? Of course they are. And for them to proceed forward, because Jaime is involved, and he's had a few stumbles here that have been dramatic lately, then that speaks more volume to me that there is something actually substantial here than it being a hoax. And that's my point. I mean, we are, when somebody says to me, Jimmy, aren't you aware, man, that Jaime's involved, man? Jaime's involved. If Jaime, I'm like, well, dude, what, of course I know Jaime's involved. And of course that throws up red flags. But if Gaia decides to move forward with Jaime involved, that's because they can't ignore this. And I really mean this. If Jaime would have brought this to me, or if Jaime would have brought this to any other UFO researcher out there that's talking smack right now, that researcher would have picked this up and ran with it too. Okay, so just don't stop. And I've talked to a few researchers out there that have been, talking a little bit of smack lately. And I said to them, look, or them, what, you would have ignored this? And they've all said the same thing. No, of course I would. Of course I would have, of course you would have. So Gaia is no different, and I would have done the same thing, Jaime or not. And that's real. Now, but the other part that I want to drive home is, with everything that has been presented so far, you also can't say that it's real. It goes both ways. You cannot, if somebody says to me that it's real, I'm going to say, based on what? Based on what? There isn't enough data here to go either way. And that's where I stand on this, So let's stay to the left. Yeah, absolutely. Let's stay to the left. Let's stay on it's too good to be true. And then let's let everything just fall into place, and then we won't be disappointed, and let's move forward. And that's my take. All the skeptics out there, you know what, or anybody that says it's real, there's not enough data here. When the DNA comes in and we start to see this, and it does blow up and become the biggest news in human history, okay. If it's the biggest hoax in human history, okay. You know what I find strange? Let me throw this at Khan. Khan, do you think it's weird that all of the mainstream media news outlets have chosen to ignore this, even on the hoax side, right? Why aren't they reporting this really cool alien mummy hoax? They love reporting on hoaxes, right? But they won't even report on this right now. I find that very strange how they don't want to move forward. When if it's a hoax, it's a pretty fun one, right? Why not report on that?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, and I don't know if there is a specific agenda. It might be that they are trying to evaluate this themselves. But if I was mainstream media, and I try and empathize with them sometimes to understand where they're coming from. Remember, they're stuck in their reality boxes, and it's difficult to take people out of that box and interrupt their lives with such difficult news to bear, unless they're ready for it, right? So one important thing is, and I like your approach, is that we have to be skeptical of skepticism, but at the same time, we have to be skeptical of believing and the believers.
Right.
But when we look at the mainstream media, the way they've looked at this is that there is a level of ignorance, both of the find, but also in deliberately pushing it away and not letting that come up. And I find that surprising. And I don't know if they're in touch with Gaia and trying to see whether they could cover it or they could actually have a look at the DNA samples or any of that. But that's going to take time. And I know Gaia would want mainstream media coverage because they are a publicly listed company. They have revenue goals. They have all of these targets that they have to hit, right? Subscriber growth, so on and so forth. And getting mainstream media awareness around this would definitely cause a huge spike. However, going back to Jaime Maussan and the people who have been involved, the moment you have someone like that involved, it prevents mainstream media, or alarm bells do go off, that they get afraid and they don't even want to touch it or send their reporters in. And I think that's sort of the situation we're in right now. I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll be the first one. I mean, if I went through the Roswell slides, I went through all of, and I've done that. This isn't my first time to this barbecue, right? But I'm here to tell you now, if it turns out to be a hoax, if it really does, then, Jaime's done. Gaia's got a lot invested in this, and they are going to have to recover from that. And I'll be the first one to say, here we go again. It's shame on you once, shame on you twice, right? That kind of situation. If it comes down like that one more time, then I'll be the first one to step up and go, I will never, ever listen to this guy ever again, right? Okay. But the data, the mummy itself, as opposed to everything else, the Roswell slides were a picture. You can't DNA test a picture. You can't do that. What we have are multiple specimens right now that we can touch. We have an archaeological site that we can go to. We have all of the testing and everything that can be done. We have a physical specimen here. That's what makes this situation different than anything else in the past. This isn't a videotape of a UFO in the sky, of a ghost walking across a room. This isn't. It's not. We actually have physical evidence here, and that's what makes this case completely different than ever before. So for Gaia to step forward with something like this, if it's a hoax, somebody is really putting together some amazing mummies. The skeletons, the radiology, the CT scan, these are all real. It's a real body. And I just want to see it play out. It could be the biggest thing ever. But we have to stay on the side of things of being too good to be true. Because it is. It truly is too good to be true, right? Absolutely. An alien body has been recovered, right? Okay, let's figure this thing out, but do not call it a hoax when you don't have any proof of anything. And that's where I am coming from. Now, your remote viewing was able to, and we're going to start to present your evidence here. Your remote viewing showed things in advance before Gaia released it. So I'm going to throw this at Brett first, and then Khan, I want you to answer the exact same question. Were you guys leaked any information from Gaia? Did you have any inside sources that would present any of this evidence ahead of time?
I wish I was as popular to have people leak me information, but no, I'm just a regular guy kind of trying to make remote viewing and show its potential. So yeah, no, never got anything from Gaia. We were really excited when we had the overlap, and we weren't sure what the response would be. But
okay,
nope,
Con,
from the source.
Con, were you
not
leaked
at all? Yeah, not at all. And we had difficulty getting to Gaia because when we found the data, we tried to figure out their email addresses, and it was so complex because some of them don't have their emails online, and we tried to send it out to as many people there as possible the moment we discovered what we did. So it was there is nobody we know there at Gaia who would leak this to us, and it's not in their interest to leak this to us at all.
No, well, it wouldn't be, but I'm just saying because what ended up happening was extraordinary. And so I have to ask the tough questions. Were you guys leaked any information? And you should have contacted me. I could have put you guys on conference call in minutes. Okay. All right. So you guys were not leaked any information. Okay. What was the date or when did you do your session?
Sure. We did the first session. This is actually also the original scans. Obviously, the hardcore skeptic is just going to say they're fake. But we did the first session on June 29th. That's when we set up the problem, and we did the first initial probe with the first remote viewing session data. I think it was the evening of June 29th.
Who presented you with the targets?
It was blindly tasked, and what we do is we have a process where we have a number of blind targets that we put together, and we jumble them up so that our imagination or our mind doesn't know. So technically it would be self-tasked, but that jumble pool that pool allows us to kind of cross-check. So we hit 2 or 3 targets a day anyway, and then when we chanced upon this and that came up, it was synchronous.
And so then were the sessions done at the same time?
No, we are in different time zones, so we do them at the time when we can do them, but then we have a regular daily call at 11 a.m. Pacific time where we run through all of the data. We function very much as a business.
Okay, for the audience here and for the record, okay, because this is now historical data too, this broadcast. For the record, you and Brett, or Brett, you and Con, only got target numbers and did not know, both of you did not know what the targets were, and you certainly didn't know what the targets were for either of you, correct?
That's correct, absolutely.
Now, Brett, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, now you know that the cross-references and the data on the Nazca mummies and what you guys ended up putting together is absolutely astounding and is beyond any human. I mean, it's crazy that you guys put this together. But as we take this data apart, I want everybody to understand that these were target numbers, and you guys did not know the targets, and you certainly didn't know the targets of one another. And then the sessions happened independent of each other. Con, your session was done in Singapore, right?
That's correct.
And Brett, yours was done in Arizona, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Who revealed what to who first?
So we have a process where we upload the data into a Microsoft OneDrive folder.
Right.
And we upload it in a zip file, and then we start looking at the data at the moment it is uploaded. Both of us would get a notification that the data is there, and then we would cross-reference and jump in on the call to discuss what we have here.
Okay, when you guys opened up that zip folder and looked at the results, who peed first?
Well, yeah, I'll take that, I suppose. I don't think either of us did, but you know what it is? We've been working for a little while up to this point, and so we've had a number of sessions. Just the way that we structure our work is we've had a number of them where we've had very, very similar site templates before, and it's one of the reasons why we've continued. At the beginning, Troika began as kind of an experiment to see. We've changed actually a lot to see what would work, to see if our synchronicity worked together with the actual remote viewing data. And the more that we did session work together, the more we're like, okay, we both have the same type of vision. We both have the same type of goal, what we want to do with remote viewing. We both know how to remote view and have a long history of practice with it. And now we have the ability to then line up with the work, which could happen no other way unless, well, we assume it's true. And in this case, well, we kind of jumped the gun on the actual results that were released in the web series, essentially, which shows that this does work. So
very few things sort of surprise us now, Jimmy. With remote viewing, trust me, if we showed you some of the other work,
right?
But we apply a lot of discernment to what we release. We're very careful and conscious of what can and should be shared, because we're going into a domain where things can get messy real quick.
Yeah, we're going to head towards a break right here. When we come back, we're going to start going through the sessions, and we will do everything complete tonight, so everybody just sit back and relax. I will say this. When you guys contacted Gaia 4 weeks ago, their response to me, and I can go on the public record and say this, when you guys hit them with that, you put them in a panic. Okay, because this information, they were still digesting and putting it together on their end. They knew that it hadn't been spoken about yet publicly, but you guys had revealed some pretty amazing things that now have played out and was certainly released in episode 5 just a few days ago on Friday. So, and their response back to me was that you guys freaked them out. Right? That you guys were onto something here. And it wasn't just some of the public side of things, but there's also some other stuff going on right now that they are truly tripping on. We're going to break all of this down right after this short break. Our guests tonight, Brett and Con from TROIKA Remote Viewing. Now, I know what everybody's saying. Jimmy, get on with it. Look, I've got to set it up properly, okay? I've got to set it up properly. I want you guys to trip out just like I did. And I'll be right back with Brett and Con from TROIKA Remote Viewing. Tonight, we're doing the Nazca Mummies. Stay right there.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Very special presentation tonight because we have the TROIKA Group remote viewers. We have both Brett and Con here. We are doing the Nazca mummies. Now, this is what I would like to do at this point. The both of you, I am going to I'm going to go to a little bit of the middle of the story and let everybody know actually what happened a month ago that blew everybody's minds, and then we're going to backpedal and go through the entire session. What Brett and Con remote viewed is that Maria, the mummy, amongst other things, but was pregnant, and there was a fetus involved and a baby involved, and they did this weeks before Gaia broke the news, and it was part of the remote viewing session. Absolutely extraordinary. And the other thing, and I want to get this posted up in Twitter first, your drawing of Maria with her hair. So it's an incredible picture. It changes things for me, too, in this entire narrative. Rita, post the picture of Maria with her hair. Okay, now, so with that, when you guys were starting to cross-reference the data, and the pregnant side, fetus side, baby involved side of things started to cross-reference. For the both of you, how strong was that information, and how much of it was the same? Sure. Let me throw that to Brett first.
Okay, great. It was actually kind of interesting how we got to that. Because in the first probe that we put into the work, where we essentially took a picture of the body, we put it in an envelope, put the numbers on the envelope, and then put that into this blind pool. And the first session that we ran, the baby was not in that session. However, there were a couple outliers that corroborated in this that were really strange, that were then tasked what's referred to as follow-on work. And this is referred to, well, here's what the descriptors were. It was the idea that something was being kept quiet about Maria, and it was being kept hushed. The original analysis of that was, okay, what is this fraud that's going on here? What are they keeping secret from everybody? That regardless of what the rest of the data said, what is this? This is strange. So that was tasked as what's referred to as follow-on work. More work was done after that. It was retasked, it was reset up, and then re-put back into. And what came out of that work, there's this thing in remote viewing that's referred to as stage 4 overlay. And what this means, stage 4 is just simply part of the structure. You go through it. It's just part of the process.
Brett, we're starting to lose you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this a little bit better?
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry about that, Jimmy. So stage 4 overlay, when there's something, I'll give you an example. If I want to go to a tribe in South America and they have some sort of prophecy that if someone brings this idol to them, we'll treat them as a god. And then I need to find where that idol is so I can go be this god for this little tribe. Well, what happens if I task that to a remote viewer, the remote viewer is actually going to pick that intention up first before their unconscious goes to the pattern of information associated with that idol or that statue. That's what happened in this session, is that the intent and the emotional thought that was associated around that picture that we took was so strong that we actually picked it up in the work, that something was being kept hidden. And when we explored that, what came out of that was the baby and the whole story behind the baby, on how Maria, there's a big narrative that kind of goes along with this, but what happened is she did not follow the rules very well, and it resulted in her baby being taken from her. We had sketches of that. We had sketches of her both on a gurney, essentially, and then, really the hardest part about this, when we did that part, this was for us. I mean, it may have had Gaia, I suppose, panicking when we sent the email, but when you run a session, you can download the emotional feelings of the life forms at the specific site in real time when it happened in the past. And when we did that, for both of us, it was so overwhelming, the panic, the sorrow, the sadness, that we both, as soon as we finished that work, we're like, wow, it's the kind of thing where you just want to take a break for the rest of the day, kind of put a sticker on your forehead that says out of order, and I'm done for a couple of days, because we both had that kind of effect from looking at this.
Right,
and
right. And Khan, let's start from the beginning. What the story of Maria and her life when she was alive. Let's start there. What did you find out?
Yeah, I think, well, the way the remote viewing data comes in sort of determines how we tell the story. And when we first did the target, we discovered, both Brett and I were sketching a female nymph-like being. Now, a nymph is there is an element of sexual activity or a proclivity towards that. And when we started looking at that idea properly, we started discovering that she was this person, this being that was very, very curious about the world and extremely interested in understanding her world and surroundings, but also had a fascination with human beings. And this was very strange because we went in with the hypothesis that maybe this is a human remain or something like that. But as we started looking at the idea that she could potentially be very, very curious about love for a human, and that was the trigger point that we started to look at and analyze a little bit further and do more remote viewing on, when we realized that Maria was a sexually active being that fell in love with a human being. And because of that, she became pregnant. Now, when that happened, that broke the rule of that society or that civilization or that entire domain. Whoever was there, whoever was coming from Maria's standpoint, that was a rule that she broke, and there were some harsh consequences for her.
And the question of was it that she wasn't allowed to? Why was she here? She wasn't allowed to interact or fall in love. She couldn't help herself. Was she warned about that?
Yeah, I think one way of looking at it is that from a remote viewing standpoint, we just look at the basic question. If we want to ask the broader questions, we have to do more follow-on work.
Right.
So what I'm saying is we haven't looked at some fundamental questions yet because we basically haven't had the time or the resources yet. The fundamental question is, why was she here? Why does she have 3 fingers, for example? How did she walk? All of these things require more follow-on work. What we do know, however, that came up as corroborating data between Brett and I is that she was part of a severely misogynistic culture that championed men. And the moment that she broke this rule, she basically had a lot of restrictions put on her female body. And one of those large restrictions was that you cannot go and crossbreed with humans. And she was very, very interested in that.
Now, you also, okay, let's talk about the area where she was discovered. This tripped me out quite a bit. I keep saying trip. Okay, this fascinated me quite a bit. She was, you guys saw her in one part of this underground area. Brett, I'm going to hand this off to you. What is it that you guys found there?
Sure. Well, this was in the original data, the first session work that we did. We both described that she was not alone there. And we have her essentially out on the side. A lot of this is the RV context, essentially what was in this place. And we both described it as an underground area. There's a really small oval kind of opening to get down into it. And she was where they found her, kind of right in the front. However, our work showed that there were 4 other bodies that were also right there with her. And not only were they just there in this underground area with her, but they were also punished equally for the same crime that Maria was punished for. They may not have had necessarily the same type of, essentially what happened is like her baby was taken from her. That didn't necessarily, we didn't get that kind of information happen to the others. But we had that, essentially what occurred is that these beings were thrown into this place, which was described as a penitentiary. It was a place where they were put in exile here. And there's implications to this that maybe we'll get to in a little bit later on that are a little bit more dramatic once you look at the rest of the work. Because not only is it there's more bodies here, but what else is there may actually eclipse this mummy.
And Khan, I'm going to go back and forth here. Khan, the penitentiary or jail or prison element of this, the punishment element of this, you guys are, checking your data, going back and forth. How did you come to this conclusion?
Yeah, we both basically got the idea separately that punishment was involved. This was a jail. This was imprisonment. There was a lot of torture. But how we got there was, first we wanted to establish, remember, going back to the structure of remote viewing, right? And it's important to keep our wits about ourselves because we both could be telling a story to each other and then just being happy about the corroboration. That's not the way we do it. First, we establish base layer. Is this a hoax or is this real? We established that it was real from a remote viewing standpoint. Second, now if she's real, let's go to her moment of death. Now, this is the part when we started getting a lot more data around how she died. And it was this part that there were a lot of significant heavy emotions and some weird things started happening as well that we had to discharge because we were so close to the site that we had to make sure that we were properly analyzing this and had to take a walk around the block, so to speak. Now, the moment we did that, we looked at her death, we discovered that there were a number of people there, a number of beings, that were being punished and tortured. And her punishment and torture was far more severe in that she was basically gassed or almost burnt alive or gassed with advanced technology because they wanted to kill something on her as part of their death process. There's something that she has that they wanted to kill. And before they could do that, they needed to, of course, remove her baby. So we wouldn't be surprised if somehow the DNAs correlate between the baby and Maria. But more importantly, if they are able to see any slice or skin marks that, I don't know whether that's possible, but if there are any cutting open wounds at her, like a cesarean section, that's sort of the image that we got.
Now, if that gets revealed, we are in a whole nother ball game here. That's going to be fascinating. Rita, post the 2 fetus pics that we have. Also, and I want to get to the ritual too. We're going to do that in just a second. You have one fetus pic where it looks the baby looks normal. Then you have another one where something else is going on here with the baby. Can we go to the As these get posted, Con, let me ask you this. Why the second illustration of the baby, and what is around its head?
Yeah, I think it's important just to reemphasize here that this is not what we draw in the remote viewing session. These are artistic renditions of what we felt,
right,
and how we pieced it together. So Brett and I collaborate on the artistic renditions, and he does the masterwork in actually creating this. What's happening here on the second photo, the first one is of course in her womb, but the second one is an excisement. Essentially the baby is being pulled out or forced out of her because of the impact that this crossbreed would have on future descendants.
Brett, when you did this drawing, is that a hand around the head?
There's a couple of strange things that are going on with the actual bodies. In the actual artistic renditions of it, it's essentially like the closest match. And so it's not going to be completely precise, but I would say it's pretty close.
Okay. And there's a round object. I'm on to move on, but when everybody looks at this picture, I want them to understand what they're seeing here. What is the dark object on the right side of the baby's head?
Well, there's something that came up, and we'll probably get in a little more detail as we move on here. There's another object that was discovered in the original remote viewing data that was very, very strange. And it's something that there's actually, when we go into the actual work in the later Gaia episodes, they found some of these things. And we believe, we're not actually sure whether or not they were born with this thing attached already.
Right.
But we do know that it existed on the bodies. And what this was a metallic crystalline, essentially exterior that we described, and we're using our own lexicon here. We're using our own. Now we're getting into a kind of a territory that is beyond our kin, so to speak, because when Con and I started to describe this, we had no idea what this was. It was very strange. And but we found it was on Maria, and it was also associated, there were other ones, these things at the site, these crystals, and they were also on the other bodies. And so we wanted to kind of make sure that was rendered, because it plays a really significant role in what's there, and it plays a significant role in actually who and what Maria was.
Now, also with the other bodies that were there, either one of you can jump in and answer this, but as this played out for Gaia, you guys were ahead of the curve here. And the other bodies that were found didn't come out till later. Do you and the dating on the other bodies is a little bit different, but the baby is still in question. But you see the baby as being removed from Maria. That's what the data suggests.
Yeah, we see that. Now remember, we only looked at Maria. Everything else that we got in our session work, we refer to as context.
Right.
It's our unconscious mind also seeing all these other patterns of information associated with Maria and giving it to us so that we can better understand what happened. And so we never looked directly with remote viewing at any of these other bodies. We did, however, look directly at this inserted little crystal. For lack of a better word, we used crystal, we used device. We actually used a word that was really strange, something like an android. And that's going to throw everyone maybe a little bit off, because like, well, what does an android or anything robotic have to do with this? Well, there's something in remote viewing. It's essentially an analogy. We call it an AOLS. It's kind of like a noise, but with signal. It's like mixed in with both, because we don't actually have any closely related word that would fit what it is. So it gives us just the closest match. And so it's like an android. And when it means it's like an android, it means that whatever is controlling Maria's body is this thing. The limbs, the head, probably the eyes, the whole motion, the operation of Maria, according to the corroborating remote viewing data, is that it was not operated from a brain. Now, there may have been a brain, but that was not its seat. of awareness. Its operation, who and what Maria was not a body. That was simply a way for this thing to operate here. What Maria was, her mind, existed in this object, in this crystal that was placed, we described it as near the throat, in the thorax. In some of the artistic ones, we kind of took a little bit of liberties for its placement, but essentially right around the chest. And you actually look at one of the CT scans now. This was after the fact. We were kind of floored when we saw this. But the drawing, one of the drawings in one of the sessions perfectly matches the drawing in the CT scan of kind of like this two ovals side by side right on the chest of one of the smaller bodies. And what our data says is that would be there. And not only would that be there, but that's the thing that made these things operate. That's the actual entity. It's not the body. The body was simply a way for it to operate in its environment.
Yeah, when that was revealed by Gaia, your remote viewing of this, it's spot on. And so for you, what did you? I mean, were you guys taken aback a little bit that you guys were almost too accurate here? Because the chest plate's data, right? The stuff that Gaia revealed was pretty amazing. And I had talked to Jay about this. I've talked to, on and off the air about that. And the word android was dropped by me and robot 4 weeks ago, right? And it was something that Jay and I had discussed on the air. But you guys remote viewed this before our broadcast, and I had no idea about your remote viewing. I didn't know about any of it until just a few days ago, as you guys know. But you guys had the same amazement is the right word, that you're starting to see all of this actually cross-check. I was blown away by it. But what did you think when you saw the whole chest plate stuff revealed in the radiology?
Yeah, I think it's always it just floors us sometimes, and we cannot really process it. So what is important, however, is whenever we are overcome from an emotional standpoint, that we're so excited that we're on target, that's when we have to pause and put our feet back on the ground. Because that excitement can actually hijack us into saying the wrong thing, into going in the wrong direction. Right. It's happened before. People get excited. People get curious. They think that they're on target. They think they're superhuman. For us, we start adding in skepticism. And this is the self-correcting part where both Brett and I are forced to bring in skepticism. And we started to bring in skepticism. We said, okay, we know Maria is real, but we haven't looked at the other bodies. And going back to what Brett shared in our podcast, which is that if you look at what is the best disinformation campaign, the best disinformation campaigns tend to be truth, half-truths, and complete lies, all jumbled up and given to you.
That's right.
What we are extremely worried about right now, from Gaia's perspective or from just this entire discovery, is that there is no chain of custody to the exact tomb or that location. And it's because there's this individual person called Mario who has given these additional bodies to Gaia, right? And or they have made an arrangement. But Gaia doesn't necessarily have access to the tomb. That's being kept hidden. And for us, that's a little bit of a red flag, because what we want to look at and understand is there chain of custody from a scientific standpoint, that Gaia knows exactly where these bodies are coming up? Because it would be a real shame, Jimmy, if Maria is proven to be true and her DNA is accurate, but the rest of them are hoaxes, because that's when a disinformation campaign can start.
Well, that's always how it plays out when it's a real disinfo campaign. But I can say this with nearly 100% certainty, that the next play, and it may be playing out as I speak to you, is to go to the site. Okay? Mm-hmm. And just like you just said, I mean, that's the chain. Not only the chain of custody has to be accurate, and for the scientific method to play out, that's the first thing that everybody's going to ask about, is the chain of custody. And I think Gaia is playing all of that out to the best of their abilities. But I can say with certainty that the next stage that has to play out, besides the DNA results coming back, is the actual site itself. There's got to be boots on the ground. There's got to be video evidence and documentation for that, for all of this to move forward, for this to be taken 100% seriously. If you break anything here, okay, anything goes out of play, then this is all going to go out the window very, very, very quickly. So I think that guy is doing everything that they can to take the next steps. Okay, I can't say anything more. But
Sure.
but let's just I'm treading on very thin ice here, so let's just say that I feel pretty confident in how this is going to play out. Now we're going to head towards a break here. So
Sure.
what I want to set up for the break, one of the most fascinating illustrations here, and let's get this up in Twitter right now, is the ritual. And you also have what appears to be a judge. But what is represented here in this ritual?
Sure. The ritual data came out when we looked at her death, and we wanted to see how it was that she died. And so what we did is, this is referred to as an event recreation session. And what occurred is she was thrown into a pit, and we believe this occurred to this group together, maybe not necessarily at the same time, but in a very similar manner. They're put into a pit, and there's a centrifuge that exists there. And it was really strange because we were describing steel. It was a centrifuge of steel or a material like that. And there were these judges or peers or individuals who acted as authority that would stand over this pit, and into the pit, into the centrifuge, went an enormous amount of hot, toxic chemicals. And these chemicals were meant to do two things. Number one, our work described that the preservation and encasement of the body was number one. But they did something else, is that there was a directed, we don't know whether it was an energy or just pure extreme heat. It was something with high energetics regardless, but was pointed directly at the object on Maria's thorax, right near her chest, on her throat.
Wow.
And it destroyed it completely. She was obliterated. She was completely erased. The body was preserved, and our work said that essentially it was ritualistic, it was a ceremony, but it wasn't necessarily for Maria's sake. It was for the sake of keeping her body as an example, that if you do this, this is...
Okay, it sounds like somebody's landing at an airport, but this is a good spot for us to take a break. One of the things that I have pointed out is it looked to me, and we'll discuss this when we come back, we'll pick it up, that it looked like she sat down and died. It didn't look like she was put in that position. That's me, and this is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, the TROIKA Group.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to mig911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit mig911.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. You guys are so spoiled. What a show. But I expected this tonight. We have the TROIKA Group, Brett and Con. And what I would like to do, I want to do a slight recap. I'll let either one of you handle this. But as you guys have compiled all of the data and put this down, where are we standing here? She was here, fell in love, and then okay, all the way to the point of this apparent judgment. Can one of you do a recap for us?
Yeah, happy to, Jimmy. So essentially, this being Maria was real, was not a hoax. We established that from a remote viewing standpoint. This is not some complex hoax that has been pieced together or mutilated. That's fact number one, from a remote viewing corroborating standpoint. Fact number two is the circumstances surrounding her death were also corroborated, in that she was pregnant and then a baby was excised from her and removed from her, and subsequently after she was put to death. Now, if you go to the documentary that Gaia has published, observe two things. There is a similarity in the position of both the baby and Maria, in that they're clutching together, hunched over, both of them. And they're put in this position from a ritualistic standpoint, from a place of guilt or from a place of apology, because this is the sin that they committed. This is both mother and baby will be punished for it. Now, that data came through very, very clean. What we are interested on, or where we're interested on going from here, is how do we establish, number one, chain of custody, but number two, what part of Maria's consciousness was killed in the death process? And we think that crystalline object, that stuff that exists on the thorax or on the plate, is going to be critical to unraveling this entire mystery.
Do you think, my take, and what's fascinating here is this. I had said from the very beginning, when from the first video, that it looked to me that she sat down and died, that she was alive and she sat down in this position and died. It looks to me like I don't think she was put in this position. I've had a lot of people that say, they do this in Peru, they put the mummy. But to me, from an emotional standpoint, it looks like she sat down and then died in this position. Does your data show that? I mean, if she was gassed, do you think that that she just sat down and expired?
We have that she was cast down into this container, this canister, if you will.
Right.
But whether or not she was forced into that position, I don't actually believe so. One of our original postulates when we were looking at the work after we were done was she trying to protect something? Her hands are in front of her chest, are they not?
Right.
Well, now that we look at the data that her seat of consciousness, her awareness came from this object, was she trying to guard that with her arms? We haven't looked at that. We could. There's a lot of things we actually could look at that we haven't yet. But as far as what our data said, she was not forced in that position that we know of. She did die in a very similar sitting position based off the work, but whether they kind of adjusted her a little bit after the fact, our data doesn't say.
Now, what about let's go into some speculation here. What's the white powder? Were you guys able to figure that out?
The white powder, essentially in the data we had. Again, this is using. I'm not a chemist, so remember the process of remote viewing. It's using my lexicon. It's using my associations from the unconscious up to the conscious.
Right.
And so when I'm in this state, it's going to use the words that I have available to me. I don't actually have the word diatomaceous earth in my vocabulary from before seeing the Gaia documentary. So that kind of descriptor, it can happen. It's rare that you get a word. I actually recently had one where I had a word in a session and I had no idea what the meaning. I looked it up and it was a perfect context, but it almost never happens. And so the descriptors that were coming up for us was essentially, this is a plastic-like fluid that's toxic, that's enveloping her, which main purpose was to preserve her body, as an example.
I want to post up the picture numbers. Oh, she just did. Okay, number 6 is up, which is this chamber. I'm going to go ahead and get this out one more time. What are we looking at here? Describe the chamber, and what's it made of?
Sure. The descriptor that came back is that it was made out of steel. And last I checked, during the era that this body was carbon dated back to, I'm pretty sure they didn't have steel canisters around just laying around back then. But that was the descriptor that came back. It's a steel centrifuge. And then this was during the ceremony of her death. There were elders that were there that were based from above, because she was down in a pit in this steel kind of centrifuge. The chemicals and the toxins were coming down on top of her. So she was basically drowned in this muck. But not only was it just like a liquid, it was a very hot metallic liquid. And so the artistic rendering that you have there of that is her sitting down in this steel canister where she's eventually flooded with this material and ultimately dies.
Now, Khan, you had the same. I mean, this is to be clear here. You guys had the same exact data. So this is what you saw as well.
Yeah, that's correct. I might use a little bit of different vocabulary, but it was the exact same dimensional sort of sketches with her inside.
When you guys get this, because it's disturbing to look at, right? It is. It's just a disturbing vision. Yeah. How do you guys deal with the emotional side of this? Because it's tragic. It's very emotional.
Yeah, I think this is the part, Jimmy, where Brett and I have agreed we don't teach remote viewing anymore. We teach it at a very basic level, but where the problem comes in is if you look at a vast majority of remote viewers they start off remote viewing and then they go into a deep abyss because they don't know how to deal with some of the the difficulties that you start intersecting with and some of the things that start confronting you. So we believe very strongly that you need to have a strong spiritual practice, a strong sense of discernment, and you need to have a discipline that allows you to anchor yourself in the truth and stand from it before you speak. And that's why Brett and I are confident of working together, regardless of our egos. And it's better to recognize that we have egos than to say, oh, no, we don't have them. But importantly, it's critical that remote viewers have this sort of discipline to guard against this sort of emotional hijacks, because you can get hijacked in a way and you can get paranoid, you can get the wrong sort of thoughts. So when we teach it at a very basic level for people to understand their mind, their consciousness, but we don't teach the advanced skills anymore.
Okay, let's discuss the alien part of this. Did the data cross-reference her not being of this earth? Either one of you? Oh, maybe Brett.
Yeah, so I think just on that question, Jimmy, we have not looked at the Earth part. We have not looked at her origin.
Brett, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah.
We didn't. I think it's pretty clear based off the work that breeding with a human, crossbreeding, it was against her society, against her rules. We're dealing with something that is not typical. It's not standard, and it's, as far as the data says, it's legitimate. It was not created in an art gallery or by some great hoaxer. So the implications of that, also the fact that our data shows her mind was in this object and it was destroyed during the death process, and that was how they killed her. Ultimately, the body did die too. That, to me, doesn't know of any human that I know of. Now, again, we could speculate perhaps till the cows come home, but we could actually know if we decided to do more work on this. And it's the kind of thing that I think there's a lot of answers. We may well do that. That is something that maybe there's a time and a place to do the rest, answer the rest of those questions. Because otherwise, in just my own analytical mind, based off the data, I'd just be guessing.
And this is just it is harsh. It's harsh, but the other bodies, the other mummies that were found, what did you guys see with them, and how were they related?
As far as being related, all that we had is that they were a group.
Yeah, the dates. The carbon dating says that they are separated by over 1,000 years. But here's the issue. Well, it's not necessarily an issue. It's more of a concern that actually Con and I have, because, and this is when we're talking about the tomb, we're talking about what else is there, we're talking about what happens if a lot of people start going down into this place, is that what these things are, they are not necessarily all dead. Our descriptor shows, and this is the thing that we found in the tomb, that we really didn't go into too much detail even with Gaia, because we weren't sure how to broach this. But I think at this point that it's getting to this stage, it's good to get this out there that real discernment needs to be exercised if you're going down into that place. Because our work is showing that this is a place of exile for these types of things. What else am I supposed to call them? They're a crystal entity that's using a physical body to walk around and have an experience here. But they broke the rules of that society, and this is their punishment. It's our current assessment, again, more work is for sure warranted, but it's our current assessment that there are more there, and they're not necessarily all non-operational. Now, when you're dealing with crystals and a type of thing and an entity that you don't know what its intentions are, you don't know what it can do, you have to be real careful. And when you start looking at remote viewing, you learn real quick. Be careful what you look at, and because there's a lot of things out there that the universe is a lot stranger than everyone may realize once they start kind of poking at the bear.
But only things that we can really recommend is that the real discernment needs to be used before they kind of start prodding around down there, because we think that there's ones that are still active there.
Now,
it's a tomb, but it's also a prison.
Yeah, and how do you guys move forward? Is the data now corrupted? I mean, how do you guys move forward and continue to investigate? Because now you know so much. You've seen the videos, right? How do you move forward without just being completely contaminated?
That's I think an excellent question, because it's a technical answer, and there is this part of remote viewing which is done blind, and then there is another part of remote viewing called front-loaded. Front-loaded means you know a little bit about the target, or you know quite a bit about the subject. And the only way to do front-loaded remote viewing is through years and years of experience. It goes back to what I shared with you earlier, Jimmy, about how do you discern the signature of a thought that pops into your head.
Right.
And you start developing that subtle sense. Now, it becomes even more trickier the moment you start being front-loaded, because let's say something pops into your head that says prison, imprisonment, versus if it's actually from the right data source, which is that death or something like that. And the ideas are fairly similar. And so you run into some technical complications there. What differentiates us from other viewers is that we are able to work collaboratively, both Brett and I, and we're able to cross-check each other out. And we apply an even more stricter form of control to the data that we release whenever we run front-loaded. So that's an excellent question. And we've come up with our data has been so accurate, even front-loaded, that we're confident.
Isn't that a paradox? I mean, it's. I understand and I hear you, but isn't that wrong? I mean, if it's front-loaded, I mean, then it should be accurate.
No, there's a slight difference. Front-loaded oftentimes means you have some knowledge, but the way to check, one thing that I'm excited about, the way to check front-loaded data is if you can put on a brainwave device to see whether you are going into theta. Because there are just imagine two data streams, okay? There is your thinking mind, which pops in with a question like Egypt or I want milkshake and all that.
Right.
That's your front-loading talking.
Right.
Then there's a far more subtle sense that comes in, and that's the data stream. This place is tall, thin, dark, and it comes in suddenly. And it is like a quick intuitive flash. You must have a level of hyper awareness or micro awareness that allows you to catch the snippets. Front loading is only applicable, and this is an advanced skill. You cannot do it as a beginning remote viewer. You must do it with someone else who has that level of skill, but at the same time, you must be very, very cautious and conscious about the type of data that you're acquiring. Because sure, a remote viewer can always fool themselves, but Brett and I cannot fool each other. We have to be accountable to each other in that way.
There's definitely also, if I could just add one thing.
No, go ahead, Brett.
Sure. There's also, not only is it, sure, the more advanced a viewer has, the better they are, the more experienced, to ascertain whether or not something is mental noise or not, and to differentiate those signal patterns. But there's also something we do, and we do this regardless. Yes, we know a lot about this topic now, but there's a trick that we use, and we discussed this earlier as well, where what we do is what we create a blind pool. And this is where, say, we put 20, it depends on how much time we have. And obviously, the more targets that we put in this pool that we don't know which one we're picking out at random is going to take longer to kind of get around to it. But it's a way to still put a distance when you're running the session. If you're randomly picking a target out of a pool of, say, 20 different targets, some of them are the Eiffel Tower, and then some of them are the Mummy, then you never really know what you're going to get. And so it's another way to just put a little bit more distance between yourself and the data, even though we're still only releasing information should we continue to work on this stuff that's corroborative, that's independently obtained. There's still little tricks that we can use within the techniques itself to separate us and make it easier for us to distinguish what mental noise and what's not.
Yeah, it's kind of like a jury. You know, how do you get a jury pulled together that doesn't know anything about a famous case, right? It's going to be completely contaminated. And now that the Nazca mummy thing is out there so much, and I mean, how could I how can I go to Courtney Brown or another remote viewer, go to Dax or some of these guys that are really, really good and say, can you look at the Nazca mummy? I can't do that because it's just completely front-loaded and polluted at this point. So how do we move forward?
Well, there are parts of the question that are still blind. For example, where is the location of the tomb? Or why was she here? What other things are there at that location? What bodies are real versus what bodies are fake? What's the agenda of person XYZ in this sort of situation? So there are a number of permutations, unknowns that you can hit. I would say that the front loading is a way that you can work around front loading by essentially having a large enough blind pool. And it just depends on the discipline level of the remote viewer, because if you have 2 or 3 viewers working together, you're going to get far more accuracy, even if they're front loaded, because you're able to sense, you're able to see what corroborates or what does not corroborate. And, oftentimes I end up slipping Brett Mickey, where he thinks that he is going to get a front-loaded target, but then he gets a blind target, completely different, sends him far, far away from what he thought he was going to remote view. And in his mind, that's a test from a teacher to a student, or test from a peer to a peer, whether you know how to distinguish your imagination, your thinking mind, from your intuitive mind. And that's remote viewing.
Is it a curse? Not Maria, this talent. I mean, certainly it's fun to go and see this, and you open up envelopes and you're like, holy crap, man, we're spot on, and you're across, but also it could be a curse. Is it something that maybe you wish you didn't have this talent sometimes?
Every person I've ever taught, I've always started, be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. And it sounds cliche, but when it comes to remote viewing, it is so true. If you're not ready for the type of information that this can lead to, if it's just a enthusiast, the thing is, what we're doing here is you're opening your unconscious and your conscious. It's a pathway of communication. If you're not ready for what's being downloaded into your autonomic nervous system, it's a mind-body skill.
Right.
It can have adverse effects on your psyche from what you look at. And I've seen this happen. I've seen viewers go down and spiral out of control because they can't handle the data that they're looking at. And this is why it's like the level of discernment needs to be really high, I think, before you start taking it to the advanced level.
Now, and then what Brett and I do, sorry, Jimmy, if I can jump in.
Sure.
Yeah, what Brett and I do oftentimes is we use remote viewing to determine whether we should teach someone remote viewing. And we did that recently where we had to reject a student because that student was pretty good. And what we did was we discovered, for example, that this person did not have the right level of emotional maturity and had a lot of anxiety. And it's our responsibility as teachers in this domain to not teach that skill to that person who is not ready for it. My simple criteria, my simple questions with Brett and the way we discuss this is, how is this person's health? How is their wealth? How are their relationships with their loved ones? Are they going to be perfectly obsessed with the skill and leave out everything? Because both Brett and I have had to go through this struggle where it became a curse, as you said, but we've had to go deep down into that abyss and pull ourselves out to make sure that we are applying it properly.
The criminal aspect to this, right? I mean, it could be used for just all of the wrong reasons. The path into a bank. Where did they hide the money? What time do they, you know what I mean? The criminal aspect of this could be absolutely utilized to the extreme. How do you filter that out?
Well, one of the ways that we do that is we actually use the skill itself to see whether or not it's the optimum trajectory for the individual. And that oftentimes it's not. But yeah, I agree completely. Remote viewing is kind of like fire. You put it into someone's hands that's not ready for it, they're gonna be burned, and you're responsible as the person who gave it to them.
Right.
But at the flip side, if you give fire to an arsonist, you're gonna find the village burned to the ground. You're also responsible for that. So you have to have, I think anyone who teaches this, if we want to see this move forward and be a productive addition to society, there needs to be people, and this is something that we've really tried to work on, and we're trying to put together something that can bring this to scale responsibility. We haven't perfected or figured out the perfect solution yet, but I think it can be done. And I think once that's figured out, I think it can be used in a way that's productive without it having to burn or be a destructive force.
Well, now, see, the thing is, Khan goes home and he knows where he hides his watch collection, right? And he comes home and it's gone. Well, he knows it was Brett. You know what I mean?
I got him.
It's really
there are spiritual ramifications on Brett if he ever steals those watches.
Oh man. Okay. What is next? What's next for the Nazca mummy? We do need to continue this and pursue this. Is there a way to continue? You could share that data with me, and I can go and double check on the other side of the Gaia fence to see if we are still on the right track.
Yeah, I think you have excellent relationships with them. What we can do is basically we need to put together a targeting strategy. What we are concerned about is that we know for a fact. So I'll give you a mistake we made in all of this entire situation. We sent out that data to a number of organizations because we did not know who it would land with. And we sent out this data to a number of organizations. Gaia was one of them. Now, others have gotten back to us and they have expressed interest in excavating and going to the site. And what we are worried about or concerned about is we don't want to partner with the wrong party. We think that this is a discovery worth millions or billions of dollars, sure, from a profit-making standpoint, but this should not be in the homes of someone who is an art collector or a museum aficionado. This belongs to the public. This belongs to the people of Peru. This belongs to them in a way that would empower them to rediscover their history. In a way, it's a human story. So we're interested in partnering with the right people moving forward who have the political will, the financial capital, and we can actually really narrow down and make sure that the right interests are put in place.
Interesting. Well, that's okay. We are willing to be, the mediation, the go-between.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that part is not a problem. I want to get to the bottom of this. Okay, so this is what I want both of you to do. Take out your pens, and I want you to write down 2 words. Okay? You ready?
I know what they are.
Okay. The first word is blue.
Go. Okay, I don't know what they are.
Okay, good. The second word you need to figure out. 2 words. And that's what I want to. I can't. If I give you the second word,
we're not touching that.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I tell you what. This is okay. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to give both of you the second word independently. Ha!
No.
And you will promise me that you're not going to disclose and to each other. And then let's move forward. This is a project I want you guys to work on for me. And the audience right now is going, Church, you're good, because they know exactly where I'm going. But you guys don't, and we will handle this via email here in a few minutes. All right?
Sure. Okay.
Appreciate
it, Jimmy.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, thank you both, okay? And we've got lots of exciting stuff to work on in the weeks and days ahead. You guys are the very best. Thank you so much. Brett and Khan from TROIKA Group Remote Viewing. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Much luck. We've got a lot of work to do, okay? Now, until then, you guys be safe. It's a treacherous world out there. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Great show. Perfect. Okay, now we've got all of the links up to go and get their ebook, okay? And the promo code is Jimmy Church RV. Go and get. I'm looking at Twitter right now. You guys are on fire. You guys all went and did it. Continue to do that. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'm going to open up the phone lines and discuss some of the news you know absolutely nothing about. Next. Stay with us.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Con. TROIKA RV remote viewing. Amazing conversation. I'm opening up the phone lines right now, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Now, to be clear, let's do a slight recap here. The remote viewing session that they did was 1 month ago. Okay, at that point, the video was out. But remote viewings were done separate, and at that point, the other bodies, the chest plates, the baby, all of that stuff had not come out yet. Okay, and there's something to remote viewing. It's extraordinary. I hearken back and I go back to when the Malibu underwater base was discovered, and I saw that remote viewing session open up in front of my own eyes. There's something to it. These two have the correct method. There's something going on here, and there's some more data too as well. There's going to be some more stuff coming out, and we do have to go back and we have to revisit this. I totally agree with all of this. It's very difficult to get these clean sessions, right, without the front loading. I understand that, but the other part of it, for me, that is playing out here, listen to me, is that Gaia and everybody over there is sitting on information that only they know. And when it is getting remote viewed in advance, that's where I trip. There's something going on here. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. Their remote viewing states, their data, the cross-reference, cross-check data from two separate remote viewers are saying that the bodies are real. It is not a hoax, and that she was cast down into this chamber. They are calling it a centrifuge. Again, the data is confusing for them. That's the way that they describe it. And she was gassed, and chemicals were upon her that were metallic. Again, all very interesting. To remove herself from the body. The body was left intact. Okay, the crystal part that was controlling her, ooh, man. Again, fascinating. The whole chest plate, thorax control issue, which again turned out to be revealed later by Gaia. I don't know, man, I don't know what to make of all of this. I really don't. It's totally fascinating. Totally fascinating. Okay, there you go. So you can go to Troika. The Jimmy Church RV is the promo code there. Just $10, and you get the entire the entire ebook with all of the illustrations and all of the remote viewing sessions right there. So go and check it out. Yeah, I thought about the Mount Adams remote viewing, and this question has come up a few times over the last couple of weeks, and I've talked to some remote viewers. The problem that I have with all of that, again, is the whole front loading thing. I don't know how that is handled, so, but yeah, I think we should get some remote viewing done there as well. Okay, all right, phone lines are open, 323-825-5045, 323-275-9695. Have you guys seen the Part 5? Have you guys seen Part 5 over at Gaia? You can go. Everything is free. Just go to the Gaia.com. It's right there on the front page. You can click on it and go check it out. It was released on Friday. It's pretty fascinating. Have you seen Part 5? Let's talk about that too as well. Now, some of the news that you don't know anything about. Some of this plays into what's going on with Gaia right now, but it comes from Crimea. The burial place of a 1.5-year-old boy with a deformed, elongated skull was unearthed by archaeologists in Crimea. The scientists immediately dubbed the finding an alien. Now, this is the archaeologists and the scientists, only because of the way that the body looked of this little boy. But the press release said alien due to the unusual structure of the skull. Nobody's saying that it's alien, okay? We're not going there. The remains were found near a village in the Yakovenkovo in the eastern part of the Crimean Peninsula. And this is according to the Archaeology Fund, a group that organizes digs across central Russia, Crimea, and northern Africa. Now, the grave of the boy, which dates back to the 2nd century, was a key finding of the recent expedition, according to the anthropologist. The boy had an artificially lengthened skull, which is clearly seen in the pictures shared by the group. Those are posted up on my Facebook page. I think it's also on our radio page. You can go and check it out there. The archaeologists also unearthed a pottery vessel and small beads buried with the boy and a copper bracelet on his right hand. Remember, this dates back to the 2nd century. Several burial sites dating to the 1st through 3rd centuries were also unearthed near where the scientists found the elongated skull. as well as a massive stone tombs in a row, believed to belong to high-ranking people from the Bosporan Kingdom, an ancient state located in eastern Crimea between the 5th century BC and the 4th century AD. Absolutely fascinating. Now, as I looked into this, elongated skulls and boarding, as it turns out, is not rare in that part of the world. We always think of Peru when we see elongated skulls, and we look at Akhenaten, and we get all of that. But what is happening right now with the Nazca mummies and those, and plus the other elongated skulls that Brian Forrester and, of course, L.A. Marzulli have been looking at down in Peru for many, many years, and attempted DNA testing there as well. Also, on the same subject, there were some reports, and I did get some email and some other information about some DNA tests coming back on the Nazca mummy, and that came from a certain doctor, and that it was a male. All of that is inaccurate. There is no DNA testing back, okay? And Maria is not a male. Well, I haven't seen the mummy, but I am just letting you know now, there are no DNA tests back, okay? All right, where am I at? Samsung has been awarded a patent for a mysterious banana-shaped smart device. Now, I posted this up last week. I didn't get a chance to get around to this, but I do want to take the chance here to talk about this. It is a cell phone, a smart gadget that looks like it's straight out of Get Smart, and I'm not kidding about this, but it is something that is on file right now at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Granted patent approval back on June 27th. Today is the 31st, but revealed here on Fade to Black, and I did it over on our Facebook page. The application was filed back in September 2015 and is described as an ornamental design for a display device, smartphone. It includes drawings of the gadget from several different angles, each showing examples of icons that could be laid out on its surface. Well, the several drawings from different angles are drawings of bananas. Samsung clocked up the highest number of granted U.S. patents in 2016 with a whopping 8,551 successful applications, including the banana smartphone. Now, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mark. That gets a retweet. And to be used in a public place by agents. Is this? Are they working with the CIA? Are they trying to get a successful banana phone? You have to see the drawings. Go to our Facebook page, and then I think you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's pretty trippy. Now, also breaking news right before the show tonight. Brazil is investigating a plane crash in which 3 environmental enforcement agents were killed, a case which is the latest blow to the efforts to protect the Amazon rainforest. The plane carrying agents with Brazil's Environment Enforcement Agency, also called IBAMA, IBAMA, crashed earlier this month in Roraima, Brazil's least populated state on the country's northern border with Venezuela. 3 environmental enforcement agents and the pilot died in the crash while on a mission to combat illegal mining, deforestation, and other crimes. 1 agent survived with severe burns. It's a mysterious crash. Now, we've got lots going on with the environment and global warming and scientists disappearing all around the world that are trying to combat this. But this is a mysterious crash. And when you combine everything else that is involved, such as not only deforestation, but illegal mining, and the plane happens to go down, one has to wonder. And they are looking into it right now. Who is posting these? These are pictures of, yes, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Let's see here. Mark. Yes. Okay. There you go. What do you make of that? Right? It's the banana phone. That's crazy. Right? I think you guys are with me. Thank you, Casper, for retweeting the picture of the 1.5-year-old boy in Crimea, and you can see the copper bracelet there. That is just disturbing. You know, one of the things I meant to get into tonight with Brett and Con is, and I've never really gotten an answer from anybody on this. If you have an elongated skull that is artificially done with boarding, right, with an infant, and then they grow up and the skull is elongated, does the brain grow and fill up the cavity? Do you have a bigger brain? Is brain capacity increased? Or is it fluid? Right? Is it, the fluid does the brain stay the same size? Now, I'm asking the honest question here, right? If you're looking at an elongated skull, in some cases it's like, a third or maybe even double the size of a normal skull, does the brain fill it up? And is brain capacity increased? And if the brain is increased, the brain size, if it is increased, does that change things? Or if we have a bigger brain, are we still using the same amount of our brain that we would normally use, and the larger brain doesn't matter? And before somebody says, man, Jimmy is just stupid, I'm asking the obvious question. Nancy says, no, brain capacity stays the same. Okay, so Nurse Nancy being a nurse. So, Nancy, what you are... No, the brain isn't bigger. The birding heads have less volume. It's been measured. I have seen measurements that have occurred that show that it's actually increased. Okay, but Nancy's saying the brain capacity say... No, okay, I'm asking the wrong question. Does the brain increase in size? Does the brain fill the cavity? Right? That's my question. And with that, you guys are too much with the banana phones. You guys get it, don't you? The banana phone, that is trippy. Why do it? Boarding. Yes, I understand. So that's what I want to know. What is... Do you have more brain power? That's all that I'm saying. Okay, where am I at? Oh, yeah, check this out. Big news. On October 12th, 2 days after my birthday, this year, an asteroid will pass by Earth. Are you ready? At an astronomical stone's throw from the Earth's surface. It's going to whiz past us at a distance of around 4,200 miles. And NASA is using this opportunity to test out some of its planetary defense systems. I'm not making this up, and listen to me very close here. The asteroid is called 2012 TC4. It's a small asteroid measuring around 30 feet wide. It's just a little bigger than that meteor that impacted over Russia back in February 2013. During this close approach, apparently NASA is saying now that there is no risk to the planet. Now, as well as observation networks for monitoring asteroids, NASA is also working on developing a more direct approach to planetary defense, including deflection. In June, the space agency announced its first asteroid deflection mission, the Double Asteroid Redirection. It's called DART. I've talked about it on the show. And it has now officially entered its next phase of design. This plan involves hitting the asteroid to shift its orbit. How many movies come into play right now? Pushing it out of Earth's path. The first target for DART is a binary asteroid, an asteroid with two bodies, that's right, that has a distant approach to Earth in 2022 and 2024, 2 separate passes. NASA will hit one of the bodies to see how much it will veer off course compared to the other body in the system. Now, okay, first off, when it comes to 212 TC4, now they're saying that it is going to pass about 4,200 miles to Earth. And then NASA also says, and I'm not making this up, my friends, NASA also says that they don't exactly have its path charted. Now, they're saying 4,200 miles. That, to me, is way too close. 100,000 miles, a third of the way between the Earth and the moon, to me, is too close. But they are saying 4,200 miles, but don't worry, it's not going to hit us, right? I'm kind of tripping on this. Now, it's going to happen in 3 months. 3 months, 2.5 months, 2 months and 10 days from tomorrow. 4,200 miles is too close. It's too close. And when they say that we don't have anything to worry about, flip it over 180 degrees, we have everything to worry about. That's number 2. I'm not a fear monger. I'm not. But they have also said in the same breath, the same press release, that they don't have its exact course charted. Well, I think 4,200 miles with the Earth traveling as fast as 1,000 miles per second, right? That if something is 4 seconds off, aren't we in, right? Think about that. Now, okay, so anyway, everything is going to go down October 12th. Is it going to be close enough for us to look up it? It's 4,200 miles away. And also, NASA said in the same press release that they depend on, amateur astronomers, for this data too as well. I'm kind of tripping on the whole thing. I was looking at, somebody had posted before I move on here. I was looking at some posts about, from some flat earthers, talking about the eclipse that is going to be happening, coming up next month at the, third week of August. By the way, yes, we will be up at Corey Good's conference up at Mount Shasta. So we will be able to, on that Monday, we're going to be there for the observation. I think it's like 10:30 a.m. And we will be under a 90% eclipse shadow. We're not going to be in the dead center path, but we're going to be at 90%. That's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to that. And we'll have all of the information up over this next week if you would like to attend the conference. But the flat earthers out there are now saying that the Earth, the moon is going west to east, and the Earth is, that it is impossible for the moon to create an eclipse. Yes, thank you, bloke from Oz. You are way too quick on this posting. And so it's a very simple thing. The moon is the Earth is doing its 1,000 miles per second around the sun. The moon is going around us. The moon is going with our rotation. So at that exact moment, with the sun in between us and the moon is traveling, it's very simple. That's why it can go from east to west, and that's how it happens at the same time, even though the eclipse is going west to east. Everything is rotating. The Earth is rotating. The moon is going with us, and that's at 1,000 miles per hour. And so just for that instant, it's all going to be on the same path. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with, dude, the Earth is flat. This is impossible, and this is why. Oh, man. All right. A team of scientists from Oregon have performed the first known instance of gene editing on human embryos in the United States, and this is according to MIT's Tech Review. Stuart Metalopov from Oregon Health and Science University and his team have reportedly corrected defective genes that cause inherited diseases in a large number of one-celled embryos using CRISPR. Now, He refused to comment on the results of the project, but some of his collaborators already have confirmed them to the publication. Up until now, reports about human-related gene editing usually come from outside the United States. China, in particular, hasn't been holding back when it comes to CRISPR experimentation, and scientists from the country were the first to use the technique on human embryos to repair a gene that causes fatal blood disorders. A team of oncologists from Sichuan University also conducted the first CRISPR human trial on a patient suffering from an aggressive form of lung cancer. Now, in the United States, Congress blocked clinical trials that involve genetically modifying human embryos. The practice raises a lot of ethical concerns, after all, with critics being especially worried that it could lead to designer babies. The National Academy of Sciences issued a report in early 2017 endorsing human germline modification, though, and that's exactly what his group did, modifying an embryo to eradicate heritable diseases is called germline engineering, because the child born from that embryo will pass on the changes with his or her germ, egg or sperm, cells. We are on the brink. We are on the brink. The genetic issues that we have in DNA, we have about 4,000, a little more, 4,000 issues that include so many different things, but they are diseases and things that we are born with. And it could be everything from polio to cancer and all those other issues that we have. And we know exactly where they are now. Is there something wrong with going back and eliminating them? You know, I don't know. I don't know. Is it nature that put them there to begin with? Right? Is it us that we have allowed them to be created? Why wasn't our DNA from the very, very beginning without these issues? Right? I don't know. Is it an ethical thing? My whole trip with all of that, like I had talked about at the beginning of the show, is how these were just there, from the very beginning, right? And how come, if they were put there, how come nature didn't remove them? It's the same thing. I don't know. Well, there goes another episode of Fade to Black, the Nazca Mummies, with Troika Remote Viewing. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Con. Absolutely extraordinary show tonight. Just extraordinary. You guys, all of you, are so spoiled. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Shows produced by Hill J. Paul, Mark T. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Mark D. Kovar, Fady Bidell. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. Until tomorrow night, Grant Cameron right here. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.